Welcome to Black History Decoded, where I give insight into Black or African history that has been misrepresented over the centuries. Queen of Sheba is Isis and has many other names. I know what I'm talking about and I will eventually be proven right. Nevertheless, do your own research. History has been mangled by the victors. Unraveling it is daunting, but it can be done. Now, when you research Queen of Sheba, you will always come across the fact that she slept with King Solomon before marriage and she went back to her home and had a child. Those who do the research fail to understand the cultural faux pas of that event. Queen of Sheba had a child out of wedlock, which is a no-no. King Solomon, who is Amenhotep III, the most powerful king in the world at the time, and you don't marry him first and then have a child? You have a child before you marry him? That's a disgrace. Her people will look at her crazy, so she has to come up with a plan. So she has to hide the pregnancy, then pretend to find the child outside the palace and adopt the child, or say it was a divine creation. Osiris impregnated her, virgin birth, and we know Isis had a virgin birth story. Isis, aka Queen of Sheba, goes back to King Solomon, aka Amenhotep III, to get him to marry her and claim their son, who becomes Amenhotep IV. But King Solomon, aka Amenhotep III, aka Ra, doesn't give in right away, because how is he to know that this is his son? Like, he really likes her, but he hasn't seen her in a while, and all of a sudden she shows up with the kid. So what's he supposed to think, right? Now, in my research, I also hear that King Solomon gave her a promise ring, but if you really think about it, it makes no sense because she could go and have sex with someone else and give that child the ring. Not very wise of King Solomon, right? Or Amenhotep III. So he does need some convincing, and in the mythology, Isis definitely convinces him.
Isis and the name of the sun god. The Egyptians were firm believers in magic. The goddess Isis was considered to be especially potent in the magical arts, and one of her greatest coups came when she persuaded Re to divulge his secret name so that she held power over him. Isis was a clever woman, explained one story. More intelligent than countless gods, she was ignorant of nothing in heaven or on earth. She wanted to place herself and her son Horus at the head of the pantheon of gods, and the only way to do this was to discover Re's secret name. One day Isis came upon Re when he was asleep, snoring loudly. From the corner of his open mouth hung a long dribble of saliva, which gathered weight and fell to the ground. Isis pounced. Scooping up the spittle, she mixed it with clay in the form of a poisonous snake. Then she breathed magic into the snake to make it come alive. Isis had noted Re's movements and knew that every so often he would leave his palace to go for a walk. Each time on his route, he passed a crossroads. Isis left her snake there and awaited further developments. Re emerged for his excursion, and as Isis had planned, the snake bit him. Re saw nothing, but he felt the poison coursing through him. In pain, he called to the 9 gods of the Ennead for help. Re had a fever and was sweating and shivering, but the other gods were helpless. They could do no more than mourn the impending loss of the sun. Isis then made a dramatic entrance. She could cure him, she said, but only if he would tell her his name. Re refused. She offered again and again, but still he declined. Eventually, his agony became so extreme that he could bear it no longer, and he agreed to give Isis the secret on condition that she should tell it to no one other than her son, Horus. Isis accepted these terms, and speaking aloud the god's true name, she removed the poison. The sun god was cured at once, and Isis and Horus attained the power that they had sought.
So Queen of Sheba, aka Isis, becomes Queen Tai, and their son becomes Amenhotep IV. In one of my videos, I mentioned that Hathor is also Queen of Sheba. And in the Hathor temple, it is showcasing the elevation of her and her son's status. The Hathor temple has absolutely nothing to do with the so-called Ptolemies. Another example of Greeks claiming something that's not theirs. In my next video, I will tell you who so-called Jesus' parents really were. But if you follow what I'm saying, I'm sure you figured it out already. Like, share, subscribe, and make a comment. Thanks.